United Kingdom's Prime Minister Boris Johnson defended his decision on the lockdowns, as a top scientist said that the country's COVID-19 death toll could have been halved had the restrictions been put in place just a week earlier. Johnson said that it was premature to decide if the lockdown was too late. With over 41,000 fatalities, Britain has the world's second highest COVID-19 related death toll.
Of course, we're going to have to look back at all of it and learn the lessons that we can. But frankly, I think that a lot of these questions are still premature, and there are lots of things, lots of data, lots of things that we still don't know. And this epidemic has a long way to go, alas, not just in this country, but around the world.
Boris Johnson was responding to remarks made by Neil Ferguson, who was a member of the UK government scientific advisory group. Prime Minister Boris Johnson introduced the lockdown on the 23rd of March. Epidemiologist Neil Ferguson told lawmakers that Britain had taken the right measures against the coronavirus, but the action came too late.
The epidemic was doubling every 3 to 4 days before lockdown interventions were introduced. So had we introduced lockdown measures a week earlier, we would have reduced the final death toll by at least a half. So whilst I think the measures, given what we know about this virus then, in terms of its transmission and its lethality, were warranted, I wouldn't second guess them at this point. Certainly, had we introduced them earlier, we would have seen many fewer deaths.
Ferguson stepped down from his government post advisory group after he himself was found flouting lockdown rules. Meanwhile, UK government has said that adults living alone as well as single parents will be allowed to meet others indoors. It will also not be mandatory for them to maintain a 2-meter distance. According to a report, Johnson is planning to scrap the 2 meters distancing rule in schools as early as September. WION's London Bureau Chief Mandy Clark is joining us live now. Mandy, there is massive controversy whether Boris Johnson imposed the lockdown measures too late. Well, he has come out and defended his actions, but the death toll in the UK continues to rise, second highest death toll in the world. Surely, UK has fallen short as far as its battle against COVID-19 is concerned.
Yes, and that's a major concern. Not only did that Britain had locked down too late. In many ways, that is historical. What the greater concern that we're hearing from scientists is now that they're easing lockdown measures too quickly. It is a big toll on the public, but the worry is that if they start easing lockdown measures, there's speculations that shops will be back open and running on Monday. That hasn't been confirmed, but that is a speculation. If those measures continue to ease, then Britain might be hit with that second wave. And the biggest worry, of course, is not just the many lives that could be lost, but also how badly it will hit the economy. Currently, the Bank of England is forecasting a worse depression than since 1706, over hundreds of years. So the economy and more lives could be lost if lockdown measures are done too quickly.
Right. Mandy, like the US, we saw massive anti-racism protests in the UK as well. Has there been any link established yet to those massive protests? We saw thousands of people on the road protesting against racism in society. Has there been any link to a spike in the number of cases and the large-scale protests that we saw in the UK?
It's too early because those protests happened really last week and over the weekend, but that is the massive concern. They had broken, of course, lockdown rules. The rules were that no more than 6 people from other households were allowed there to gather, and of course 2 meters apart. That obviously didn't happen when the protests happened, and the worry is those mass gatherings could lead to a much greater spike more quickly. We just don't know if that will be the case because of the time it takes for the virus to be in the body. So that's another 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks' time, if we do see those spikes, it could be because of those mass protests. At the time, protesters were asked, isn't this dangerous to be gathering? And they felt that they felt more passionately about the danger of people ignoring Black Lives Matter movement than the coronavirus. So that's the decision the protesters took, but it could have very serious consequences to the public in Britain.
Mandy Clark, thank you so much for joining us live from London, getting us all the latest updates on Britain's battle against